Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. This one is transfer plans, where have a look at my Game Week 22 and how I'm getting on so far. Have a look at how I'm lined up for Game Week 23 and then talk about my future transfer plans and players I'm looking at buying, players I'm looking at selling. So, to begin with, 47 points at the moment. Now for a bit of context, I'm recording this at half time of the Man City game, so most of the games are done. Obviously Chelsea are playing on Monday, so they haven't played yet, and City are, well, just after half time, so they're 5-0 up at the moment. At the moment Rico Lewis hasn't come on. Again, that doesn't make any difference to my team. He's third on my bench and won't be coming on. But yeah, that's a bit of context on that. Now, goalkeeper wise, I did have a decision to make and it was kind of tough on who to choose. Turns out it didn't matter. Fabianski and Verbruggen, both with 2 points. Both had penalties as well, I believe. Yeah, both had penalties. Both didn't save them, albeit Fabianski nearly did save his, which could have been big. But yeah, he didn't anyway. Lewis Hall, 4 points. He got the assist for Bruno Guimaraes' goal from the corner. Really nice ball, whipped in, really nice header. I was always starting him, so that was no issue. Trent as well, I was always starting him, 11-pointer. It's just what he does every now and then. That's why you can't bench this guy. I mean, a few people were like messaging me or commenting on my stuff saying that they were going to bench Trent. That just didn't make sense in my head. I don't think, unless he's got a really tough fixture and all your other defenders have got really easy fixtures, I just don't think you can bench him. He will always pop up with a double-digit haul out of nowhere, so I just wouldn't do it. Then I did have another decision between Castan and Munoz. Turns out they both got 6 points, so it didn't matter. I went with Castan. Now the reason there was really not much in it, but the reason I went with Castan was because Munoz was playing against Fabianski. That is a deciding factor that I do sometimes use when I'm faced with tough benching decisions. I look at who's playing against who. For the same reason that Semenyo is benched here, that's because he was playing against Lewis Hall. So it just maximises the point ceiling a little bit if it's really, really close and there's nothing else to split them. But yeah, I went with Castan and both got 6 points. So a good week for the back line, to be honest. And then in the midfield, Eze got 6 points. He got the assist for Mateta's first goal. Haven't seen it, so don't know how he played or anything like that, but he's been a really, really nice asset since I got him in. He's returned every week since I got him in, actually, so really happy with him. Bruno Fernandes scored a penalty. Don't think he did much else. I don't think Man United did much else, really, to be honest. I think that they weren't great. It seemed like Brighton had the bigger share of chances. It seemed like Brighton were just the better team, to be honest. But that's why you pick penalty takers. They can randomly come away with a goal and a bonus point even when they don't play well. So that seems like that's what happened with Bruno Fernandes. Salah blanked, obviously. He again had chances and he nearly got an assist, he nearly got a goal. So I went with captain on Salah in the end just because of the doubt on Palmer, when it was kind of close between them for captaincy anyway, so I went with the guy that was always just going to play 90 minutes regardless. Now, that might not have gone, well, that might go quite badly, obviously, if Palmer does well against Wolves, which he is most likely going to do, but it won't affect me too much because not that many people have captained Palmer, so I'm kind of fine with it. Isak, 2 points. It seemed like Bournemouth just absolutely dominated Newcastle as well, which is kind of really impressive. Like, we know that the Bournemouth attack is really, really good, but Newcastle at home at St James's Park are just good. It's a really, really tough place to go as an away team. So that performance from Bournemouth is unbelievable. But yeah, that doesn't mean that Isak blanked. Got Jackson playing tomorrow, obviously. Hoping for big things from him, but no doubt he'll just disappoint once again. João Pedro, 2 points. He had a goal disallowed, which seemed a little bit harsh. I mean, it was a foul in the build-up to it, but he took the finish well, he took the goal well. So, yeah, again, he's one of these that's a penalty taker. So, if nothing comes of if nothing comes from open play, he can randomly just get a penalty. And he played good minutes. He came off in the 95th minute. So the minutes was the thing I was worried about because he was coming off the back of a little ankle niggle. It was between him and Semenyo. And like I say, I went with João Pedro just because Semenyo was playing against one of my defenders. Anyway, that is a 2.3 million game week rank currently. And like I say, this is at 5-0 in the City game. So things could have changed by that point. However, I don't have too many players in that game that could be a threat to my rank. So not too much of a problem. That's taken me from 59k to 57k. So again, not much of a green arrow, if any at all. But I'm in kind of a good place whereby if Jackson does anything, then I'll probably get a green arrow. It's kind of probably that simple. Obviously, if Chelsea keep a clean sheet, a few people have Sanchez, a few people have Colwill, so there is that to worry about. A few people have Cunha still probably, so him scoring may affect my rank, but I'd be quite surprised if I ended up on like a big red from this. I don't think there's too many threats at this point anyway. So now let's have a look at my Gameweek23 team as it is, because I have 5 free transfers, meaning I definitely need to make a move this week. Right, so this is how I'm lined up currently for Gameweek23. As I mentioned, I've got 5 free transfers. I've got 0.5 million in the bank, so I have to make a transfer, and we'll talk about that afterwards. But this is how I'm lined up currently. So I've got Verbruggen playing Everton at home, which, very nice fixture, albeit Everton did put 3 past Spurs, and they did play pretty well. I'm not sure if that's a case of Spurs making them look good, or if they were actually good, but certainly the second goal and Dyer's goal was lovely build-up play. But yeah, I've got Verbruggen in goal with Everton at home. Obviously Fabianski has Aston Villa away, so not the best fixture. I'll definitely be going with Verbruggen. Then we have Lewis Hall of Southampton away. Lovely fixture for Newcastle. Southampton have been getting absolutely battered in recent weeks. It was Brentford first, then it was Man United, then this week it was Nottingham Forest, I think. So yeah, they've just been getting bad left, right and centre. So hoping for big things from Hull and Newcastle in that game. Munoz has Brentford at home. Watching the Crystal Palace highlights is crazy, especially when you don't own Munoz or you've benched him like I did this week. He is involved in every single attack. Whenever Crystal Palace have a highlight, Munoz is always the guy, almost as high as the strikers, always an outlet on the right. So definitely be playing him this week, especially because Castan has Man United at home, Lewis has Chelsea. Neither of those are as good as Brentford at home, so Munoz will be playing. Then I've got Trent with Ipswich at home, unbelievable fixture. He's probably doing just enough to keep his place at the moment. I am slightly worried about the double game week and whether Conor Bradley gets one game, but I'm not going to do anything about it right now anyway. So yeah, it is what it is. Salah has Ipswich at home. He will almost definitely be my captain just because the fixture is unbelievable. We've seen what Man City are doing to the Ipswich defence, so Liverpool have every chance to do even more than that. So Salah is a very, very good captain, probably the best captain this week. I can't really think of many other players that could challenge him for that. I mean, Isak does have Southampton, so he's not a bad player, but the fact that Salah's a midfielder means he gets more points for goals as well, so it just seems like he's the guy. I'll do a captaincy model video later in the week, but I imagine it will just tell me that Salah's the best. Then we have Eze with Brentford at home. Again, another good fixture. Brentford defence isn't great, especially when they're away from home, so happy with that one. Semenyo has Nottingham Forest at home. Nottingham Forest defence is really good, but the Bournemouth attack is also really, really good, so I'm absolutely fine with playing him. Palmer has Man City away. I've got the vice captaincy graphic on him. I probably would actually have it on Isak, but yeah, Man City away, not the best fixture, obviously. However, Man City aren't quite their usual self yet. I mean, they are battering Ipswich, but they're still not quite their usual self yet. So maybe it's not a bad time to play them. And also, Chelsea attack's so good, so could still be in for points there. Bruno Fernandes has Fulham away. Fulham defence is really hit and miss. At the start of the season, they were really good. Now, not so much. I mean, They did keep a clean sheet against Leicester, but it is only Leicester. West Ham put 3 past them, and a few of them were just defensive mistakes. So I'm fine with playing Bruno this week as well, albeit here's one that I'm not that set on keeping long term, so we'll talk about that in a sec. João Pedro has Everton at home. That is a very nice fixture. João Pedro has been quite disappointing of late, similar to Jackson, but he's so cheap and he's on penalties, and that just makes me want to keep him. I mean, again, we'll talk in the next slide about forwards and my thinking on them, but I am reluctant to sell him at the moment. Then we've got Isak with Southampton away, as I mentioned. Great fixture, he's going nowhere, albeit he could actually leave my team relatively soon, just because Newcastle's fixtures do turn a bit soon. But yeah, that means I'm benching Jackson. Again, I'm not 100% sure on this, but Man City away is just not an ideal fixture. So that's how I'm set up. Now let's talk about transfers, because my thinking is there's a double game week in Gameweek 24 for Everton and Liverpool. The only players that I have from those teams are Trent and Salah, so I may want to get a couple more in, especially as I've got 5 free transfers. So my thinking then turns to who are the best other options from that team. Bearing in mind, I won't be using the assistant manager chip on either of the managers. I'll be using my triple captaincy chip on Salah. I didn't use that earlier in the season on Haaland, so I will definitely be using the triple captain on Salah, so I don't need to keep another Liverpool slot open for the manager. So I probably will buy a third Liverpool player. I will also look at Everton players. It's just who I actually want to sell and who I won't want long term. So let's go through the players I'm looking at buying and players that I'm comfortable selling as well. Right, so I've put this graphic together. It is not the best graphic, don't get me wrong, but it should show my thinking. So I've got the positions in each of these places, and then I've got the players that I'm comfortable selling that are currently in my team, and I've also got the players that I am looking at buying for the double game week. Now, the players that I'm comfortable selling are ones that I'm comfortable selling before the double game week. After the double game week, it's a different story, but for now, I'm just thinking about players that I'm comfortable selling and players that I'm looking at buying. So one that I will almost definitely do either this week or next week is Verbruggen out. So as you can see, Verbruggen out there, and obviously the 2 double game week goalkeepers are Jordan Pickford and Alisson. One of those players I will almost definitely be buying, whether it be this week or next week. So I don't need to talk too much about that. The next one is Rico Lewis will definitely be leaving my team again this week or next week for Mykolenko or Konate. Now, I can't afford to do Rico Lewis straight to Konate, which is slightly frustrating, because in an ideal world I think that would be what I'd like to do, because Konate has Ipswich at home this week obviously, and then he has a double game week, and Rico Lewis I just don't want in my team because hasn't started the last few, and you just never know when he's going to start and when he isn't, so I'm not fussed about keeping him. The other option is obviously Mykolenko. Now, the way that Moyes seems to have set up, especially against Tottenham, is that the other 3, so he's playing 4 at the back to start with, Mykolenko is the left back, and then 2 centre-backs, Tarkowski and Brantwaite I think it was, and then he's playing kind of a more defensive fullback at right back, meaning that Mykolenko can push forward quite a lot. So I really like how he's looked under Moyes so far, albeit the sample size is tiny. But I do think that it's his place. I don't think that he will lose his place between now and the double game week. So he is definitely one I'm looking at. And that is a move that I could be doing this week. Rico Lewis is 3rd on my bench. Mykolenko's fixture isn't the best. I think he's playing Brighton. Yeah, Verbruggen and João Pedro have Everton at home. So he's playing Brighton away. So I wouldn't necessarily play him anyway. But Rico Lewis is 3rd on my bench, so rather than burning a transfer, what I could look at doing is Rico Lewis to Mykolenko, keep Mykolenko 3rd on my bench. That just gives me an extra player for the double game week, and then I've got 5 free transfers ready for game week 24 when I can look at making a couple more moves for these double game week players. That's the most likely move that I'm looking at. Then Bruno Fernandes is not one that I'm content on keeping for a long time. I got him in for Mbeumo a couple of weeks ago, and I'm up on that. That's gone well so far. So how much am I up on it? He got 4 points last week and 8 points this week, when Mbeumo's got 2 and 2, I think. So I'm up by 8 points from that transfer, which is nice. The problem is I was always thinking about reversing it. I kind of want Mbeumo back from Gameweek 24 onwards. But what I might do is go to a Liverpool midfielder, i.e. Luis Diaz, before I go back to Mbeumo. I mean, it's an extra transfer, but I also get an extra fixture, so I don't hate the idea. My thinking with Diaz is that Jota seems to have a bit of an injury, so Diaz could be the guy that plays through the middle in the double game week and against Ipswich at home. The only problem with that is that Darwin came on and scored 2 goals and looked quite good, so Darwin could take some minutes from the likes of Diaz and potentially Gakpo. But so that leads me on to the forwards. Now, none of my forwards I don't really want to sell them. The one that I probably would be selling is Jackson. I won't be selling Isak just yet. I will in a couple of weeks, but not before the double game week. Then there's João Pedro, who's just ridiculous value. He's on penalties, he's getting good minutes, and he's really cheap, so it's unlikely I'll do that. So Jackson's the one that would probably be sold. I don't really want to sell him though, because from, I think it's around 26 or 27, he's got Leicester at home, Southampton at home, and his numbers are unbelievable. Yes, he's not finishing the chances. I talked about this in my team selection video a couple of days ago, but I just back that he will end up finishing some chances, especially with these good fixtures coming up. He's got City this week, obviously, but I can quite easily bench him, as we've seen. However, there are nice forward options for the double game week. So Gakpo is one that seems to start most games on the left. He's definitely first choice on the left now, but he often comes off around the 60th, 70th minute. So his expected minutes aren't the best, but besides Salah, none of the Liverpool attackers are. So he probably is the second best for minutes. Also, Calvert-Lewin and Ndai are very much options. They're both very cheap. Calvert-Lewin seems to be the guy for Moyes. Moyes has praised him so heavily since coming in. He also scored against Spurs. He's on penalties. So if I was buying one of them, it would probably be him, unless I needed to save a bit of funds, because I think Ndai is a little bit cheaper. I don't mind going for both for this double. I think they're both good options. So there are another 2 players that I'm likely to be looking at, but probably not this week. I don't think I'll make the move this week. It'll probably be for game week 24, unless I want to generate some funds this week to do Lewis to Konate. I could do Jackson to DCL and then Lewis to Konate. The more likely option and the most likely option for this week for me is to do Lewis to Mikalenko. That then buys me another week for the other guys. So I will then have 5 free transfers for game week 24, and I can make a couple moves, as I said earlier. The only thing with that is it would be nice to get another Liverpool player in, because they've got Ipswich at home this week, so it would be good to capitalise on that. But I just think giving myself an extra week to make this decision probably makes it easier. But like I say, if I could do Lewis to Konate in one move, I think I would do that, but I just don't have the funds, so it might just have to be Lewis to Mikalenko and then reassess next week. But that's where I'm at with things. If you've got any questions on your team or my team, then drop them in the comments. If you like the video, hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.